Thank you so much for speaking with me today. I really appreciate it. Before we get into anything, because I have a lot of questions, because I've never interviewed a musician before. How are you doing? You doing good?
I'm doing good. How about
Good.
you?
Good. Good. It's been a day. Work was stressful, but it's all
Oh
good.
no. I
Life.
know.
Yeah, customer service. That's what it is. So,
Oh
you know,
God, that's rough. I'm so sorry.
nah, don't worry about it. I discovered you through TikTok, and I I really like your approach in terms of like sharing who you are and playing little snippets of your songs, and that really like drove me like, hey, I got to go listen to this.
Thanks,
Uh,
I'm glad.
do you think that like social media presence is actually working to help push your band for people to kind of notice your music?
I really do think so. I think a lot of the listeners that I have are probably from TikTok. Most of the
Hmm.
time, a lot of people are like, I found you from TikTok. I found you from TikTok. So I definitely think it is helping for sure.
Does it feel stressful to like have to post and keep the momentum of like, okay, well, because you don't want to be like too repetitive with your post, but at the same
Oh,
time, you're
yeah.
trying to like, do you feel any pressure on that? Or it's like, hey, it's a part of being in a band and pushing music now. It's like social media is the thing really to do.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely normalized right now, but I do feel at moments sometimes, I have to be honest, like very defeated at points just because you have to constantly post every single day.
Hmm.
And like maybe your post will get recognized, but maybe it won't. And it's always like a roll of the dice every day. But I try my hardest to not let it get the best of me because I do have moments where I'm like, oh, this post didn't do well today, or
Hmm.
oh, it feels harder to like obtain listeners and obtain people who might like my music because it's so hard now for people to share their music if they're not posting on social media.
Hmm.
So it's definitely defeating at times. And I try my hardest to change it up a bit. I've
Hmm.
definitely had people in the comments going like, change it up, change it up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't because every time I change it up, it doesn't reach people as much as
Mm,
it is when I keep doing the same posts, but
gotcha.
I'm trying my best.
It's all experimental, but the
Totally.
goal is to ultimately get someone to listen and to really grasp on your music. And I love the sound. I do.
Thank you.
And your voice, it's very unique. I
Thank you
love the
so
way
much.
you go about the melody of it, and then how you actually kind of complement the music as well with the way you're going about your vocal lines. I really like that. Is that something you're really cautious about of like making sure it's a certain way or just whatever feels organic at the time when you were writing this?
So at the time of writing these songs, a lot of it was just very organic, but
Mhm.
I think for me, I've always viewed it as like first, I'm very much like a singer, and then I'll do like the instrumentals and stuff. So
Mhm.
a lot of times I love to just make like melodies and make it like very catchy as much as I could, just because that's what I like. I love
Mhm.
when I'm listening to a song and like the melody is like so catchy, and I'm like, "Ooh, cool, I could sing along to this. Like this is so much fun."
Mhm.
So that's kind of my thing to do is melodies and making sure the vocals are catchy, but most of the time, yeah, it's very much like in the moment I
Oh,
make
really?
that. Yeah.
Do you ever second guess yourself and go, maybe I could change it? Or over time, does it feel like, okay, this was the right choice in terms of those? Because when you're writing a song, you're not taking from someone else. Like it's everything you're building in the moment.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, with this album in general, I was very like insecure
Hmm.
just releasing any of this music, and I feel like I'm very hard on myself just because I felt like my music ability wasn't great or perfect or amazing, and I honestly like held on to these songs for like 2 years because I was so insecure with it. So yeah, I'm definitely insecure with everything. It took my friends and Billy who recorded my album to like keep like yelling at me to be like, just release the music, like stop being insecure. So
Hmm.
that was kind of like the catalyst of me like releasing this album. But I'm insecure all the time, I have to tell you, with my music abilities and things. So
It's good that you at least have that because at least you're self aware. Like, hey, I know it, things can change and it's going to evolve. and you care like that. You
Yeah,
ultimately care about your music because there's artists that have released music and go, eh, and you can kind of tell they didn't put a lot of effort into it. But
totally.
I felt that with your music. I did.
Oh, thank you
Hmm.
for feeling that way. It means a
Hmm.
lot.
Of course. Now, what was your actual inspiration? Because I listened to an interview you did a little bit a few days ago, and you promoted it, and you had mentioned that you were in a couple of bands before Star Funeral.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration initially to get into, like, wanting to pursue this as a hobby or potentially a career? What was that initial spark?
So I've always just like been in bands like my whole life since I was in high school,
Mm,
and I really wanted to be in a band like so bad. So I was willing to do anything just
mhm,
because like I always just viewed myself as a young kid just always wanting to be like in a band so bad. So I learned guitar when I was like a child and I just loved like singing, but I didn't go to like lessons or anything.
mm,
And in my town or just like where I live, like in Long Island, we have like a group called Long Island Musicians. So
okay,
I joined that, and it's basically where people in the area are looking for bandmates to form bands. So I was just like hopping on, basically going like, "Oh, you want a bandmate? Like, I'd love to be in your band." So
yeah,
it kind of just like started. I started out there, and I met one of my best friends off there, and we formed a band. And I was originally gonna play guitar and sing in it,
mhm,
but they asked me to play bass instead. So I was like, you know what? I don't know how to play bass, but I'm gonna force myself to do it. And I did it because I wanted to be in a band so bad.
mhm,
So from there on, I was playing it in that band and playing bass and singing. And then I got asked to join like another band after that. And then I got asked to join another band after that. But between all those bands that I was in, a lot of them were just like dying out
mm,
or just people were butting heads or just things just didn't go like well and it went like sour.
mhm,
So being in a band and playing music kind of tainted me and actually made me very insecure. So I felt like maybe music wasn't something for me anymore and I kind of just was just hanging out. And during COVID, I was just writing songs and recording them on my iPhone and I just didn't really think too much into it just because I really didn't like think of where I would be like now, like
yeah,
doing this solo project. It was never like a thought in my brain. But I had Billy Menino who recorded my album like blow up my phone and was like, "Hey, please record with me. Like I know you're recording, like I know you have music, I know you're writing stuff. Like please like do a solo project. Like I think it'll be really good." And then I talked to my bandmate from my past band, Ethan, who played drums on my record.
mm,
He was also like, you should do this solo thing. I think it'll be really good for you. Like, and if you are gonna do it, I'll play drums for you. So they were both very much like, please do this, like please record, please write music. So I ended up going into the studio and basically I took the songs that I had on my iPhone and we just kind of recorded those and kind of like went with the flow and nothing was like pre-planned. It was just like random songs I had on my iPhone and basically from there on then they were just like, okay, you're gonna do like a solo project now.
mhm,
So I kind of just like stumbled into this solo project. It was never like planned. It was never
okay,
where I was gonna be like or I thought I would be. It was never like I'm gonna do this solo project just because I always had the security of being with bandmates and being in a band and I liked that. It was comfortable for me. So like doing a solo thing scared me and it just wasn't in my brain. I didn't know I was capable of doing that like
mhm.
myself. So I just stumbled into Star Funeral. That's really it.
It's all by happenstance. You just
Oh
never know.
yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally, yeah.
Now I really like the name Star Funeral, and I know
Thank
you
you.
and your story about how you came up with that name was interesting. Was there any other names you had potentially before Star Funeral?
Hmm. I don't know. I think I was playing around with the name Star and I was just like trying to figure out like what could work.
Mm,
And then I just really resonated with the band Cloakroom, and I was just kind of like looking at their songs, and they have a song called Moon Funeral, and I was just like, you know what? Let's take out Moon and like let's put Star, and
mhm.
nobody else had it, so I was like,
Oh,
"Okay, we're gonna stick with it."
is there a particular thing with the name Star?
I don't know, but I think viewing from, like, how everything, like, unfolded with, like, the album art and everything,
Mhm.
um, I just kinda make it as, like, a dying star, like, almost like, everything like, all the energy you put in, like, is dead. Like, just how I
Mm,
felt, like, with my,
okay.
like, past and everything. Like, I don't know. That's kind of it.
Okay, so there is a meaning personally to you, that's why it kinda makes sense for
Yeah.
Star Funeral. And then in the dark, I mean, if it's dying out, it's in the dark, like, so
Yeah,
that
totally. That's where I
that
felt like it's dying out like a star is, like, dead,
mhm.
like, in the dark, so I kinda just made it a thing, like, on in our I think it's in, like, the vinyl sleeve. I had, like, a
Mhm.
friend draw, like, a pile of dead stars, and it's very interesting, and I think I have it on a shirt too,
Oh, okay.
like, yeah, that's how I felt, like, just, like, in the dark.
In the dark. I mean, the best part about it is that you're able to express your emotions, whether it's good or
Totally,
bad,
totally.
you're able to express that. Was that also part of your nerves as well, to kind of expose your kind of inner darker thoughts, or just kind of the sadder kind of things in your music, or did it feel like, "I need to do this for myself?"
Um, I think at the time it was more like I need to do this for myself because I didn't think that these songs would see the light of day. Like I don't even think that I would have released these songs to be honest like into the
Mm,
public if I wasn't like you need to do it basically. So I think I did it for myself as like a fun challenge, like I guess just to like see if I could do it, but
mhm,
also yeah, just to get like my inner dark feelings out in the open. Like it was almost like therapy to me in a way.
mhm.
Like I was able to get all that out just because it was sitting in me for a really long time, like those feelings.
Okay, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
because ultimately, with it being a solo project, it's all what you want to convey. And the fact is, like you said, you had no plans to release this music, so you were just kind of writing what you were feeling in the moment, and now it's out there for anybody to
Yeah.
listen to. And it changes perspective, because it's this is how I felt about the song, but now once it released, people are not going to take it, and they have their own interpretation of what you're trying to convey.
Totally, totally. And it's been like really interesting because I think from releasing this album, I've also like been healing from doing it.
Mm,
And I've gotten so many messages from people like saying how like it's helped them during like a dark time and I think that has become like my mission at this point where I'm like okay, like what I put out means something to someone and it's helped someone because I've listened to albums and like they have helped me get through a really hard time and I hold those albums like so dear to me. Like it means the world. So I'm glad that it could help other people as well through their dark times. Like that's very important for me that it can help people.
and that's amazing. They're reaching out, letting you know that, like, so like,
Yeah,
hey, it isn't helping me heal, which is great that it's you're healing from this time, but it probably is helping because you actually put it out there. It's out there now, like you conveyed this, and then other people are taking that and helping them, because
totally.
music is healing. That's what I
Oh,
really feel it
totally.
is.
I totally agree with you on that for sure.
Now, you call this genre of music that you're playing emo shoegaze.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this. Then again, there are so many subgenres and different, like, so I tried to look it up, and I really couldn't find too much information on, like, what it is.
So I think I
Um
think I made up that genre, honestly,
Oh, okay. I was
because
like,
I really don't know how to label ourselves. A lot of times on TikTok, people like gaslight me and are like, "This is not shoegaze," or like, "This is not this." So I'm just
mm,
like, you know what? It's shoegaze emo.
mhm,
That's where we're going because I feel like it could fall in the emo category, and then it does have some shoegaze type of vibes as well.
mhm,
So a lot of times I like to just be like, okay, we're emo shoegaze,
mhm.
and
Yeah, 'cause
that's it.
well, the one thing I noticed, like, with shoegaze, at least the Wikipedia description a little bit was explaining the kind of, like, effects you're putting on the vocals and guitars, and I
Yeah,
hear that. Like, I heard that
yeah.
before I even looked up, like, okay, because it felt, with your name Starfield, I don't think this was intentional. Maybe it is. It felt kinda spacey like, the
Okay.
weight like, the sound of the guitars and your voice at times where it's clear, but it's kind of echoey a little bit, so I'm
Yeah.
getting that kind of in space vibe. I'm like and then Star, I'm like, "Oh, I kinda tie it all together."
Yeah,
I
I can
think
see that.
yeah. Now, question, are you working on more music?
Oh
Because
boy.
now that I've been through the album a couple times and I go back to particular songs, I'm like, because I love when musicians evolve, but they keep kind
Yeah.
of what makes them them. But I'm really curious to see now with you saying you're healed or healing from this time with releasing this music and it's you're looking at it differently. Does that affect your music? Does that change what's next?
So, honestly, a lot of people have asked me this if I'm working on new music, and I
Hmm.
I feel like I'm disappointing everyone, but I feel like ever since I released this record,
Hmm.
I like it has been a big healing process for me, and I've had big writer's block, but I also don't wanna rush writing anything to
Hmm.
dictate, like, everything that's happening right now. I just really want it to come from, like, my heart and come from, like, a very, like, sincere and honest place,
Hmm.
like the last album was, and I've had a lot of writer's block. I've gone through a bunch of crazy things, though, like, that
Hmm.
I could probably write about, but I do feel like I need to, like, let this simmer out, like, a little bit longer, and eventually I'll write again. I'm sure I
Hmm.
will, but right now I'm just taking a break on writing, and we've been just touring a lot. That's kind of been our thing
Hmm.
right now.
And that makes sense, right? Because if
Yeah,
you don't wanna push yourself to force something and it doesn't feel authentic, and then the people go, "Mm, well, it's not hitting the same. It doesn't
yeah,
feel the same."
totally. I do
Mhm,
not wanna force myself to just write just because people want me to write, and I do want it to be, like, honest and real, and that's kind of important to me, so
yeah, 'cause
soon.
you're already building that fan base of seeing the vulnerability and you kind of expressing yourself. You don't wanna go, "Okay, now that I've got that out of the way, I'm just gonna throw out a bunch of stuff," and it doesn't really mean that much. It's just
Yeah,
the follow-up. In
totally.
in the light, right? It's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay, but is there any actual meaning to it?" Not really, I'm just, kinda winging it. It's like, "Okay, but you put a lot of effort," like so I respect that. So
thank you.
I'm completely fine with you, if you're, like, waiting because you don't wanna rush anything, that makes sense. You're touring, how's that going?
It's going really great. I'm trying to hit all the states that people want us to play, so
Mhm,
every now and then I'll be like, "Where do you want us to play?" And whatever someone says something that we haven't hit yet, I'll
mhm,
make sure that we're gonna reach it.
mhm,
So that's been like the goal right now, just because I am a small band and everything it's hard to do like a full like US tour or something like on our own, but I'm trying my best to reach all these places that people want us to play so they can hear it live just
mm,
because I know that people have been wanting to hear it live as well. So that's been our goal, but it's been amazing so far. It's definitely been great.
awesome. Do you feel any nerves when you go up on stage, or is that because I mean, I couldn't go up there. No, I mean, I'd be terrified.
Like, in the beginning of Star Funeral, when we first started doing shows, I was definitely nervous just because I was nervous about this whole entire album being out and everything, so it was just, like, hitting me like a huge wave, but now I'm pretty comfortable when we play live, so it's not too bad, and it's cool because I have a lot of my best friends, playing with
Mhm.
me on stage, and I'm very comfortable with them, so it's very nice, and I'm not as stressed as I used to be.
Well, that's important because
Yeah.
you don't want to
Oh,
go up
yeah.
there and you can tell like you're stiff and you're not really moving and you're just kind of like you're just going with the motions, but it's like, oh boy, she's nervous. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking in your head, oh, I'm nervous. They can tell. Oh, I'm about to mess up a line. Uh-oh.
That was literally me when we first started playing, and it was horrible, but now it doesn't really bother me, but I've also played in, like, a couple of other bands in my past, so I kinda know how, like, the flow is, but
Mhm.
yeah, being my own person or being my own band, I feel like adds more like stress onto it.
Mhm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
With the amount of time you're at on stage, are you able to play the full album in a set, or do you have to, like, pick particular songs,
Um,
or does that? Because I know sometimes when bands go out and
yeah.
perform, they sometimes have longer sets, so you kinda have to figure out what you can and can't do.
I feel like if we're like not taking breaks in between, we probably can play the whole album. We've only played the whole album in full once at
Mm,
our record release show, but we kind of just I think we play pretty much when we play live, we pretty much play the whole album except for like two songs. So it's kind of all of it, but
yeah,
not really.
gotcha.
Eventually, like who knows, maybe we'll play longer sets or something, but
And then you gotta figure out what are you gonna do, because if you don't
yeah.
have any new music, okay, we gotta figure out something,
Yeah, gotta
you
add some
know?
things in.
Could add, like, a cover or something of a band you really like, maybe you could, I mean,
Totally, totally.
or you could, like, premiere a brand new song, like, "Guys, out of nowhere, here's a brand new song." And
Yeah,
you're like,
that's always been, like, a thought in my brain because, I mean, even though I've had writer's block, I do have just, like, random demos sitting in my phone, and every
"Mm,
now and then, like, recently I've been just like, "Maybe I could start integrating, like, some new stuff in maybe," but I'll have to, like, make up other parts for
mhm,
what I have to, like, teach my bandmates, and it will be very interesting because the way that I recorded these tracks was kinda, like, spur of the moment in the studio, so it will be, like, a little different just randomly teaching people parts,
mhm."
but we'll see, maybe, who knows? That's been a thought in my brain, so
Yeah. It's always cool when bands do that, like, "Oh, by the way,
yeah,
surprise, brand new song," and like, "Oh," and then hopefully it gets received well, because obviously the audience
yeah.
is, like, standing going, "I don't know what this is, but I hope I like it. We'll
Yeah,
see."
totally. I mean, and we don't like even though we're playing like new states, a lot of times when we're playing there, a lot of people don't even really know who we are. So it's so
Mhm.
true. I could play like a new song and people will think it's like just like a song we already have.
Yeah,
Like so
unless you announce it, "Okay, this is a brand new song," and they're like,
it's like it's
"Okay."
all brand new to me right
I
now.
are people, like, responding well at the shows? Or is it more
Yeah.
so, like, they're kinda, like, trying to get the feel, like, "Oh, okay," because 'cause I've seen opening bands for bands I go to see, and I'm like, "Never heard them before? Okay." But there's a lot of people that kinda stand around and just do this, and I'm like, "Eh, that show, like, at
Oh
least a
yeah.
little bit of support, you know?"
I mean, like, yeah, whenever we've been playing different states, a lot of people are very much like, whoa, you guys were like so great.
Mm,
And people will like buy our record and things like in the spur of the moment, which is
mhm,
really cool. So I'm glad we can make that effect on people, but I totally get it. Like sometimes bands play and there's no like impact, but
mhm.
luckily the times that we have been playing, fingers crossed, people have been liking us, so I can't complain.
And that's important,
Yeah,
that
totally,
because
totally.
now you're going the a route of, like, bands decades ago before social media. Like,
Yeah.
the how do you get in front of an audience? You have to play a show. That's how they find out about you.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
you have to be running around, like, you hear about these stories of, like, metal bands in the '90s sharing tapes, like, bootleg tapes, like, that's how they were getting their names out there.
Oh my god, whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah, like, I think it was, I forget his name, but he was the lead singer of Death, and he was, like, just handing out tapes to people
Oh
at
my god,
shows.
wow.
Yeah, that's how it was, 'cause you didn't have Facebook, you didn't
Yeah,
have
true.
Instagram, so it's like, "Hey, here's my tape," and then it's like, "Okay, what's the quality gonna be?" It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But but it's really cool that you are having a good time and enjoying it. I also noticed you did music videos a little
Yeah,
bit.
we have.
Was that fun to kind of figure out the visuals of your song? Because now it's not just, okay, the lyrics and the music, now we have to give some visualization to what I'm trying to convey in the music.
Yeah. Um, I had, like, such an amazing time. I worked with, my friend Ben, he's amazing. I just had ideas for each song, like, already in my brain.
Mhm,
And whenever, like, I came up, like, with my ideas and I brought it to Ben, he was just like, "Okay, we can definitely make this happen." And he, like, killed it, like, every single time with, like, each of the videos. It's so cool, and
mhm.
he definitely, like, made my vision come to life. like, probably more than I could do alone, like, by myself, so and he's phenomenal, and yeah, I just love how we got to portray my actual feelings, like, in those, like, locations where we filmed and just, like, through the style of art that he has, and it's amazing, it's so much fun.
It looked like it was really, fun to do. Like, I used to do, like, short little films back in the day and stuff, so finding locations and all that, but, I mean, the music video, you're very limited, and so you gotta make sure, because there's a lot of music videos that's like, there's not really much happening here," but, like, you were trying to convey a story and
Yeah,
show something, so that was important, putting the
that
time
was
and
so
effort.
important, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, do you think the music videos are gonna be kind of part of your future as you continue to grow Star Funeral, is having music videos for songs so that, because I think it does help artists to have that
Totally,
visual element.
totally. I've never done music videos before, like, in my past band, so this is, like, the first time I really got to do it,
Mhm.
and honestly, I love it. Like, if I could make, like, a music video for, like, each of my songs, like, I would.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I definitely would love to keep making music videos for future songs. That's very important to me, just because I feel like I can get more of, like, what I'm trying to explain out, and, like, it just it just moves me, like, making those videos, and I'm
Mhm.
hoping it moves other people too with those videos as well. But yeah, definitely more videos for sure.
I hope so, because I wanna see more. I need to see more. Well, I'm so glad that you're able to speak with me today. I really appreciate it. Do you have any upcoming shows or anything you wanna promote?
So sorry, my dog is, like, barking in the
Nah,
background.
don't worry.
But yeah, right now we're gonna be announcing a tour
Mm,
for February. It's not
okay,
announced yet,
okay,
but that's gonna be announced soon. That's all we have
okay.
at the moment, but
Mhm.
yeah, we'll be going on tour this February, and stay tuned for the announcement for that.
Yes, and of course, if you haven't already heard "In the Dark," Star Funeral, go listen to it. Trust me, I didn't know what to expect either. I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay," and it's good. So go listen to it, people, please. Well, oh, the dog! I can hear the dog. Hear the
I know,
cling.
I'm so
No
sorry.
worries. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Oh my
Of
god, thank you for
course,
asking me.
no problem. I really appreciate it. Thank you.